Damn, what's going on? It's Kyle Henderson along with Coach Smook. Run the thumbs up on all these videos. We appreciate you guys being here today as we continue our spring preview by position. We are talking about the Alabama secondary. A lot to discuss. Let's jump into it. Coach Smook, you lose a lot of guys, 11 that either went to the NFL draft, transfer portal. You lose your defensive back coach and Coach Saban. You also lose your secondary coach and Coach T-Rob. There's a lot to dive into. At a glance, what do you like about this Alabama secondary from the jump?
From the jump, the talented freshman class that we was able to retain, even after Coach Saban was, we know Coach Saban played a heavy role in recruiting all of these guys. These guys chose to stick to their commitment, buy into the new era. And they're all, we saw the reviews come out and all the new recruiting rankings, and we saw 3-4 stars get turned into 5 stars, literally, and that solidified the talent that we had coming over as true freshmen in the secondary.
Now, when you look to kind of the vets that are returning, Malachi Moore, DeVonta Smith, let's start with Malachi Moore. Played in over 700 snaps last year, coming back for that extra year. How big is it to have Malachi Moore come back? Where do you see him on the field? And then also, let's talk about DeVonta Smith, who was sidelined with the foot injury. Probably would have been the starter over Jalen Key had it not been for the injury.
Starting with Malachi Moore, man, you're absolutely right. You got to think this is the leader of this group, not just the defense, but this group. Malachi Moore has been respected amongst his peers since his freshman year. Who he had a similar showing, kind of like Caleb Downs did last year. You go back to 2020, Malachi Moore made his sprint early. He made his mark early, very efficient in coverage, very aggressive in run support. And before his injury that year, and Brian Branch taking over, Malachi Moore was set to have the same type of trajectory and hype that Caleb Downs. So you come back with the experience. He's healthy in a scheme that I believe fits his skill set, especially if we keep him at that Rover or the Husky, more likely the Rover. And you're going to see him thrive. Now, DeVonta Smith, I'm curious to see. I know whatever side Malachi Moore plays on, you're probably going to put Smitty on the other side, right? I'm curious to see how his progression has come, and because he was never fully healthy last year. So I would love to see a fully healthy DeVonta Smith. The DeVonta Smith that was projected to start in front of then transfer Jalen Key, who's now going off and doing his thing. So I'm excited about those two guys being back this year for the secondary.
You talk about the transfers that are coming in thus far, and this is just going into spring football. I still feel that there's going to be a guy that potentially comes into the portal. We don't even know who that is because the portal window is currently closed, but you had Domani Jackson coming in as a 5-star. And you also have Keon Sabb. I feel that each of those guys makes an impact this spring from the jump. It was really big in getting Keon Sabb from that safety perspective. And, the ties back to Courtney Morgan, Domani Jackson coming over from USC. Let's talk about each of those guys, starting with Domani Jackson.
Domani Jackson is a guy that I'm ready to see coached in a scheme that fits his skill set. I was very critical on Domani Jackson with how his performance was at USC, but I was able to go back and reevaluate. That whole defense looked lost, and I'm excited to see Domani Jackson from modern day be Domani Jackson from modern day, but at the college level. And I think this transition here, you saw his commitment to stay and stick this out. The culture here is something that he's very attracted to. We were actually in the runnings to get his commitment initially during his initial recruitment. So to see him here in T-Town and sticking it out, I think Mo Lindquist is ready to get his hands on developing a guy like Domani Jackson who possesses all of the skill sets that you want to basically be like your ISO cover corner in this style of defense. You could put him man lock with just about anybody in the nation. And, I feel confident putting him in those situations. And that when you have a cornerback like that or anybody in the secondary that could really shut down one side of the field or one area of the field, you just intensify and solidify your defense that much more.
Here with Coach Smook breaking down the Alabama secondary. Be sure and like and subscribe. We appreciate you guys being here. A couple other guys to hit on. You have Tony Mitchell. You have Bray Hubbard. And two guys who we really haven't talked a lot about. Tony Mitchell is an interesting prospect because came here with a lot of hype. We all know the off the field stuff, but on the field, looks like he could be ready to make an impact. And I think when you look to the secondary, I'm really curious to see how he performs during this spring football period, even to see where kind of Bray Hubbard is working out. Why don't you talk about each of these sophomores?
Tony Mitchell, to start off with, the flexibility of where you could place Tony Mitchell in this defensive scheme. You can place him at the Rover, Husky. You could place him at free, and you might even be able to slide him out to big corner. If you go big and you're playing a lot of guys in the box, Tony Mitchell is the perfect guy to put on the perimeter. And he can man lock. You know, Tony Mitchell is an aggressive guy in the secondary, but his skill set for this defense, you definitely want to see him in that rotation as far as the three safeties on the inside, whether that's free, Rover, or Husky. You want to see him in that rotation some type of way. Maybe not a starter, but definitely playing some impact minutes. And Bryson Hubbard, I see another year of development for him. He's very physical. I think he just needs to develop on the coverage aspect, because he's not big enough to play inside linebacker or outside linebacker. So he has to be able to play at the Rover or the Husky position. And I think his coverage is the only thing that was keeping him off the field last year. But you saw in pickup minutes, he was out there being effective. So I like both of them to have a positive spring, maybe not become starters, but definitely be in some type of rotation and get some looks and be able to put some things on film this upcoming season.
There's so many freshmen that you got to be excited about. I mean, all those stars, Jahil Hurley, is a freshman as well. Some guys left. I mean, but we don't talk about those guys that left. We talk about the guys that are here, and they're stars on stars, from Jalen Mbakwe, Zay Mincy, Jake Kirkpatrick, probably underrated at just a 3-star. Why don't we kind of just start at the top? Let's talk about Jalen Mbakwe and Zay Mincy just to get kind of the party started.
Mbakwe, speed kills, man. Speed kills. You could put him anywhere in the secondary right now as an athlete, and you won't miss a step. You'll have some small growing pains, but he's just got IQ and speed, and he has the natural size of what you would want in a college DB. Maybe put on maybe 10 pounds, coming in as a freshman, but speed kills. And you take Zay Mincy and you say, okay, this guy right here, you look at his film and you think he's ready for day one starter duties in this type of defense. Maybe not as your ISO boundary corner, but definitely put him on the field to the strength side. And I think he has the smarts to dissect a lot of the coverage and the things that you're going to have to do in this scheme. It's such a simple scheme that you can design and kind of mask things with or hide your looks with. But the concepts are so basic, they allow players to just fly around. And you put a guy like Zay Mincy or Jalen Mbakwe on the field in the secondary, kind of playing rover free type of concepts or match zone type concepts on the boundary. It gets very interesting, and you see guys be athletes. They're not thinking as much; they're just playing.
Xavier Brown, Peyton Woodyard, Red Morgan, Drake Kirkpatrick, Jahil Hurley. I mean, all those guys will have opportunities, and I think in years past, the freshmen have been kind of in the back of the lines, right? We've seen these guys kind of in the back waiting for their reps. Like when you see Alabama spring practice and you see these individual drills, these guys are going to be, if not up in front of the line or like right behind some of the starters or the starters. Why don't you talk about Brown all the way down to Jahil Hurley?
And that's the thing, Kyle. We have so much talent that you really don't have anybody on the first level of the secondary that's solidified as a starter. So who's going to step up? And I believe it all started in the fourth quarter program. A name that I've been hearing a lot about, even before I got down to Tuscaloosa, was Xavier Brown. His work ethic in the fourth quarter program. Him being an early enrollee, I think that's going to give him a great head start. He's another one. Just like I said with Zay Mincy, Xavier Brown is a day one ready guy. You look at Peyton Woodyard, I think he's probably the most polished safety we've had. We just had Caleb Downs, but Peyton Woodyard is a dude, man. I'm telling you, go look at the film. In the box, up top, over. I mean, any safety position you need him to play strong. In this defense, Husky, Rover, free, Peyton Woodyard can get out there today and be their starter there. Red Morgan, put some weight on him, and you got to miss him, man. I mean, that's what he does. He's a physical specimen. I think that's one thing that you love about him, Kyle. The fact that he doesn't care. He's going to hit whatever is in front of him. So, and Drake Kirkpatrick, very underrated. And I know he's going to be of all the DBs right now, Kyle, when it's all said and done, the year that he's eligible for the draft, Dre Kirkpatrick will put the nation on notice. He has a natural ability to go after the ball. He has this IQ that I haven't seen, and a smoothness about his movement that I'm excited to see develop. And when you get a little bit of quickness with that, a little bit of speed burst out of his stance and things like that of nature, Dre Kirkpatrick is going to be the one. And of course, Jaleel Hurley, man, I can't wait to see him get his opportunity. A young man I've personally been able to speak with, and